In 2004, the fates of two of Africa's great nations, Nigeria and Zimbabwe, would cross paths. In the 25 years since independence, Zimbabwe had built a successful agricultural industry.
In the summer we did seed maize, soybeans. I started growing wheat on the highveld.
It had become known as the breadbasket of Africa.
It was totally self-sufficient in food. You could not starve Zimbabwe.
70% of the population were employed on the back of agriculture.
But Zimbabwe's new land reform policies meant the white farmers had to leave.
The land is ours.
Another farmhouse lay in ruins. The latest victims of Zimbabwe's land war.
Farms were being trashed, burnt to the ground.
I was given pieces of paper that said that the farm no longer belonged to me.
We lost the crops, we lost the equipment.
Within 24 hours, there was nothing left there. Not a thing on the whole farm.
Through its own political turmoil, Nigeria too has lost its agricultural industry. And despite a vast oil wealth, the country has no means to feed itself.
We import wheat, we import rice, we import chicken, we import dairy products, spaghetti, canned foods, fruit drinks.
In 2004, Nigeria's annual food bill reached $4 billion.
A nation that will have to import everything cannot be said to be truly independent.
To one man, the crisis in Zimbabwe served as a reminder of the powerful potential buried beneath his feet.
We have very, very fertile land. We have good rainfall. And the question was, what is the problem?
Governor Saraki was about to hit on an idea that he hoped would ignite an agricultural revolution that would change Nigeria forever. Today, Nigeria celebrates 50 years of independence, and many still remember a very different country back in the 60s.
Much of Nigeria's wealth comes from palm oil, soap to you and me.
In the 60s, Nigeria was the groundnut capital of the world.
This country exported some major crops.
Nigeria was a major player in commercial agriculture, the world's largest exporter of palm oil, cocoa and groundnuts. But in 1954, Nigeria struck black gold.
The biggest strike south of the Sahara.
And by the 70s, oil was providing more wealth than Nigeria had ever seen.
Immediately we discovered oil, we abandoned agriculture.
The oil money that came into Nigeria helped in stimulating our taste for foreign goods.
As unprecedented amounts of new oil money gushed from the Delta, the once golden agricultural industry began to look like a poor man's game.
People ran away from the rural areas. Nobody wanted to farm. Everybody wanted jobs in the urban areas.
The oil should have been an advantage if it's been properly used to support agriculture. Unfortunately, it was used to support consumption.
It's money that has come in and it has supported the economy, the infrastructure, and agriculture has just been abandoned.
Leaving Nigeria with an annual $4 billion food bill from imports and an unhealthy reliance on oil.
Nigeria's economy today depends to a great extent on revenues from oil, and that is very dangerous.
The solution, according to the governor of Kwara, to reinstate the once great commercial agricultural industry across Nigeria.
And that was really the plan. Let agriculture, be the centerpiece, and from there, you develop industries, you create jobs, so you begin to have an industrialized economy based around agriculture.
If this country is to progress on the path of development, must get back to agriculture.
With 60% of Nigerians involved in subsistence farming, the workforce seemed to be there.
The first thing we did was to see how we could support the local farmers. What can we do to help them? So we started with things like providing tractors, fertilizers, tried to also provide financing. But we found that most of that investment, we're not seeing the return. And we're asking ourselves why. We don't have commercial farmers. We don't have commercial farmers at a large scale.
To harvest Nigeria's agricultural potential, the governor realized he needed a new kind of farmer.
2003, 2004, there was a problem happening in Zimbabwe.
Nearby, a farm was still smouldering.
We were told we had to leave the farm in 48 hours. We lost the crops, we lost the equipment.
I was given pieces of paper that said that the farm no longer belonged to me. I was no longer wanted.
And sat down one evening, I was just watching.
Farmers have abandoned their homes.
And said, hang on a second. If they don't want them in Zimbabwe, right, they fit the criteria of what we call commercial farmers. Maybe we should invite them.
In Zimbabwe, the evicted farmers had been central to the country's agricultural success.
We built up a farm from nothing and I ended up with 300 hectares of irrigation, double cropping, crops in summer, crops in the winter on the same piece of land.
We had quite a large farm there, mixed farm. Gail did dairy, I did cropping, general cropping.
It exported it everywhere in the world. It was totally self-sufficient in food. You could not starve Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe in its heyday, 70% of the population were employed in one form or another on the back of agriculture.
It was the know-how that really you couldn't put a value to. And my view was that what is good for Africa should stay in Africa. It might not stay in Zimbabwe, why not Kwara, Nigeria? So we invited them to Nigeria.
To come and give us the much desired expertise in creating commercial farming.
The governor offered to provide the farmers with land along with roads, electricity and access to finance.
My view was that the equity they were bringing in was the equity of the know-how.
Right from the word go, he was an educated man and he shot from the hip. You know, he said, we need agriculture. And he said, I can't think of a better way. You guys were successful farmers in your own country. Come here and show us how you do it.
The farmers' challenge in return is to create working farms, to train a Nigerian workforce in commercial farming techniques and to establish dairy, chicken and arable farming on a commercial scale. In spring 2005, the farmers arrived in rural Kwara to take on an immense challenge.
We arrived here to just bush. The whole area was bush, with little pockets of land opened in between by the previous villages.
With milk products accounting for almost $2 billion in imports every year, dairy plays a major part in the governor's plan.
90% of what we consume is imported.
The governor, he tasked us to please get the dairy industry going.
But the dairy team had one big problem.
There are no real dairy cattle available in Nigeria.
And their big problem required a big solution.
The biggest airlift of cattle in the world.
The farmers would attempt to fly 800 cows 3,000 miles to Nigeria. It was a risky move.
The fantastic thing was that the cows walked off the lorries and into those barns as if they'd lived here all their life. It was very emotional, and incredibly exciting and satisfying that we'd got that far.
It was very emotional. That was actually happening.
It was a happy day.
Back in Zimbabwe, Graham Hattie pioneered the country's most successful wheat farm.
In Zimbabwe, the challenge was to grow wheat. I started growing wheat on the Highveld. Other farmers followed, and we soon became self-sufficient in wheat growing.
Graham's farming expertise led him to a new crop that he thinks could produce similar large-scale results in Nigerian soil.
And quite honestly, this area seems to be perfect for cassava.
I did a bit of testing and the yields looked like they could be very exciting. I'm told I'm the biggest cassava grower in Nigeria.
Before the farms, there was widespread poverty and unemployment, and many locals worried that they would lose their land and get nothing in return.
As soon as they heard that the government is bringing a white man to be farming here, they feel it's going to be against their way of living.
When we heard about their coming, we don't believe that. I mean, they will do good like this. We don't believe in them because they say that they are coming from Zimbabwe.
But the farmers from Zimbabwe are proving their worth.
I employ up to 100 people. At the moment, it's about 85 people a day.
Before, a man can just do not more than 200 naira a day, but now he's paying them 350 naira, so they make much more money.
They're employing more people now than the local authority. That is huge. That just tries to reflect how much they've impacted the economy of that place.
There's millions of naira every month being paid out in wages into this area. And that's got to go down the system somewhere. That improves the lives of people.
As you develop agriculture, you are also developing infrastructure.
We had to have electricity. So all the villages in the vicinity have also been wired up and they're going to get electricity.
Even villages where the population is less than 100, electricity is being extended to them so that they can use modern equipment.
If you go to the market in Shonga, you see electronics, fridges, TVs, go bikes and the cars. The economy of the place is booming. 5 years, 8 years ago, you could not even think about that in that community.
Now they see it, now they say, oh no, is that what commercial farming is about?
I came up with this as my way forward for agriculture in Kwara, and I've thrown it out there and I've said, we want to get Nigeria moving forward as an economy. We want to fight poverty. Let's agree it has to be through agriculture. And I'm happy to see that federal government now has adopted some of our commercial farming policy as a national policy.
He understands that without agriculture, the country can go nowhere. He's seen the statistics of what 5,000 farmers did in Zimbabwe, sustained a country of 12 million.
With agriculture as the key agenda of any government, we're solving the problem of food security.
That will truly guarantee food, guarantee employment, guarantee security, and also give us a much desired industrial growth.
I've just got a feeling in Nigeria that they want things to happen positively. It's a general groundswell.
To us, we reckon this is the California of Africa. I mean, everything grows here. We should be feeding the whole of West Africa.
Now, everybody's a bit more supportive. The banks know what needs to be done. Government's policy has improved. The market is being created. So it's going to be easier, definitely. We can eventually be exporter for food even in West Africa and Africa. That's the future.